stopped beside the yellow ones, held two stems against the window to see them in the morning sun. I picked the pale green branches. You said they needed something warm, so you placed one in my basket like it had belonged there all along. You asked me which looked better. I said the one inside your hand. You looked down for a second, then chose that one again. You chose the yellow ones. I carried all the green. We laid them on the table with the ribbon in between. You moved a little closer to make some extra room, and every time I looked away, I saw you choosing to. The coffee machine kept turning. Someone opened up the door. A little wind moves through the paper and scattered leaves across the floor. We picked them up together. You laughed and missed a few, then tucked one in your apron like you always meant to. You chose the yellow ones. I carried all the green. We laid them on the table with the ribbon in between. You moved a little closer to make some extra room, and every time I looked away, I saw you choosing to. You said the colors work together, though neither one was planned. Then held the flowers toward me and waited for my hand. You chose the yellow ones. I carried all the green. We tied them with a soft white thread and left the ends uneven. You moved a little closer. A sunlight crossed the room, and every time I looked away, I saw you choosing to. One for your basket, one for mine. I came in 5 minutes early. You were standing by the flowers, trying on a borrowed apron with 2 green pockets in the front. You moved your basket from the chair and said I could sit beside you. We only talked about the colors and where to leave the scissors. You held up something yellow. I pointed to the white. Neither one of us was certain, so we kept a little of both. We took our time at the table, passing paper hand to hand. You smiled when mine came loose and helped me fold it back again. Coffee cooling by the ribbon, flower resting on your sleeve. Nothing special had to happen. We just found no reason to leave. You counted every little stem. I tied the string too tightly. You loosened it without a word, then turned the flowers toward me. Someone brought 2 small pastries. We split the one with if I came here often. I said this was my first time. We took our time at the table, passing paper hand to hand. You smiled when mine came loose and helped me fold it back again. Coffee cooling by the ribbon, flower resting on your sleeve. Nothing special had to happen, we just found no reason to leave. Getting quieter, but neither of us packed away. You placed one flower in my basket and said it looked better that way. We took our time at the table, leaving room between the stems. You wrote your name upon the card, then turned it over with the pen. Coffee finished by the ribbon, evening light across the leaves. Nothing special had to happen, we just found no reason to leave. You handed back the scissors, I kept the flower that you chose. The paper kept folding. Before I placed the flowers down, you reached across the table and held the corners to the ground. I moved the stems together, you turned the shorter ones around. We talked about the weather while the coffee settled down. You said a little higher, I moved them to the left. Your hand stayed on the paper until I tied the thread. Hold the paper open just a little longer. I'm almost done. Don't move your hands. The ribbon keeps on slipping, but we can start it over. There's nowhere else we have to be. Brushed away the petals that landed near my empty cup, then picked the smallest flower and asked me where it should go. I left a space beside it, you placed another next to mine. The colors looked much warmer when we stopped trying to decide. Hold the paper open just a little longer. I'm almost done. Have to be. The bakery grew quieter. The sunlight crossed the floor. You kept the paper steady, though I had finished minutes before. Hold the paper open just a little longer. The flowers fit right where they are. The ribbon isn't perfect, but neither one will change it. We leave it tight the way we made it. You let the corners go, You came back from the counter with 2 warm rolls upon a plate, set them down beside the flowers and said we still had time to wait. I reached across for one of them and caught the ribbon with my sleeve. A little cloud of flour fell across the table between us. You tried to brush it off, then laughed and made it worse. White dust upon the coral thread and crumbs across your shirt. There was flour on the ribbon and sugar on your hand. We forgot about the flowers for a minute where we sat. You tore the bread in 2 and gave the larger half to me. Nothing looked the way we planned, but nothing needed fixing. The paper stayed unfolded, the stems leaned toward the light. You drew a little circle in the flower with your fingertip. I asked what it was meant to be. You said you hadn't thought that far, then added 1 small petal and turned it into something new. There was flour on the ribbon and sugar on your hand. We forgot about the flowers for a minute where we sat. You tore the bread in 2 and gave the larger half to me. Nothing looked the way we planned, but nothing needed fixing. You tied the dusty ribbon around the flowers anyway. I left the mark across the paper and didn't wipe it all away. There was flour on the ribbon and sunlight on the stems. We finished both the pastries, then started tying them again. You moved your chair beside me so we could see the same bouquet. Nothing looked the way we planned, but we kept it all that way. A little flower on the ribbon, still there when we were done. We left the flowers on the table and walked over to the case. You pointed at the lemon tart, then looked at me and waited. I said 1 would be enough. You asked for 2 small forks. We carried it back carefully and set it by the ribbons. You cut it through the middle, then pushed the larger side my way. I turned the plate around and made the pieces look the same. We split the lemon tart between the paper and the stems. You tasted yours too quickly, then reached across again. A little sugar on the table, a little cream upon the plate. We said we should get back to work, but neither one of us could wait. You told me about the bakery near the place where you grew up, how everything was smaller there, but no one ever hurried. I watched you fold the wrapper into a neat and narrow square, then place it by the coffee cups like it belonged beside them. We split the lemon tart between the paper and the stems. You tasted should get back to work, but neither one of us could wait. The last bite stayed between us until you broke it with the fork. You gave me half without asking, then reached back for the flowers. We split the lemon tart and left the empty plate behind. You carried all the ribbons, I brought the flowers back in line. A little sugar on the table, a little sunlight on your face. We said we should get back to work, then took a little longer anyway. Two forks beside the plate, one ribbon left untied. One stem leaned across the others. Every time I moved the vase, I tried to turn it toward the window, but it never stayed in place. You reached across without a question, held the flower near the thread, then bent the leaves a little lower and stood it gently with the rest. You said it only needed a little room to find its way, then moved your coffee from the table so the vase could stay. The stem you straightened stayed beside the yellow ones. You turned it toward the sunlight and said that should be enough. I watched your hands move slowly, then rest beside the twine. The flowers looked much better, though you only moved one line. You found a smaller branch of green and placed it near the side. I held the paper open while you checked it from behind. Someone called another number at the counter near the door. We both looked up for a moment, then went back to what was ours. The stem you straightened stayed beside the yellow ones. You turned it toward the sunlight and said that should be enough. I watched your hands move slowly, then rest beside the twine. The flowers looked much better, though you only moved one line. You left a space between the petals and told me not to fill it in. I almost reached to change it, then let the space remain. The stem you straightened stayed exactly where you placed it. We tied the paper lightly and left the ribbon plain. You lifted up the flowers, then handed them to me. The smallest thing you changed was the first thing I could see. One stem near the window, Cards were stacked beside the ribbon. With a pencil in a cup, you wrote your name across the corner, then turned the paper right side up. I had heard it once before when they called us to the table, but seeing every letter there made it easier to remember. You asked me how to spell mine, though it was written on my sleeve, then copied it beneath your name and left a little space between your name on the workshop card, mine written underneath. 2 cups beside the flower stems and crumbs around our sleeves. You circled both our colors, then placed the pencil down. I read the names another time before I turned around. You added one small note about the ribbon we had chosen, then drew a crooked little leaf beside the box marked golden. The paper moved beneath your hand when someone opened up the door. I held the corner steady and you wrote a little more. Your name on the workshop card, mine written underneath. 2 cups beside the flower stems and crumbs around our sleeves. You circled both our colors, then placed the pencil down. I read the names another time before I turned around. You folded up the card and slipped it underneath the twine, then said we might need it again if we came back another time. Your name on the workshop card, mine written underneath. A yellow flower pressed between the paper and the string. You circled both our colors and handed it to me. I kept the card inside my bag where it would not bend. 2 names on one small card, one flower in between. You held the flowers at a distance and looked at them from side to side. Said the yellow felt too open and the paper looked too wide. I brought a branch from by the window. You turned it once inside your hand, then placed it near the smaller petals, like it had always been the plan. You asked for one more piece, I brought back 2 instead. You smiled and kept them both, then moved the ribbon toward the edge. A little more green between the yellow and the white. You said it made the color softer. I said you might be right. A little more room where all the smaller flowers lean. We stopped before it looked too perfect and left a little more green. You trimmed the ends above the basket. I gathered leaves across the table. We compared the different shapes, then chose the ones that felt less careful. The coffee had gone cold beside us, but neither one went back for more. You held the bouquet near the sunlight, then set it down and checked once more. A little more green between the yellow and the white. You said it made the colors softer. I said you might be right. A little more room where all the smaller flowers lean. We stopped before it looked too perfect and left a little more green. You tucked one leaf beneath the ribbon, then handed one across to me. I placed it near the folded corner where only both of us could see. A little more green between the paper and the stems. You said it held the colors together, so I left it where it went. A little more room for every flower in between. We tied the thread and kept it simple with just a little more green. One leaf beneath the ribbon, one still resting by your sleeve. We placed the flowers in the water to see how they would stand. The vase stayed in the middle with your chair across from mine. You turned the yellow toward me, I moved the green your way. Every time we changed one side, the other looked the same. You leaned around the flowers to ask which one I liked. I moved the vase a little lower so I could see your eyes. The vase between us couldn't hide a thing. You smiled above the roses, I smiled beneath the leaves. We kept on moving closer to see the colors through. The vase stayed in the middle, but all I saw was you. A petal touched the water, you lifted it back into place and turned the glass in small circles until the flowers faced the same way. I passed the folded paper, you reached for it too soon. Our hands met by the ribbon, then stayed there for a moment. The vase between us couldn't hide a thing. You smiled above the roses, I smiled beneath the leaves. We kept on moving closer to see the colors through. The vase stayed in the middle, but all I saw was you. You carried it toward the window, I cleared the cups away, then stood beside you quietly to see it in the light. The vase between us caught the afternoon. stayed beside you there. You came back from the flower shelf with something hidden in your hand, then placed a pale coral stem beside the ribbon where I sat. I asked you why you chose it. You said I mentioned it before, back when we stood beside the window looking through the open door. I didn't know you heard me, I barely said a word. You turned the flower toward me like you had kept it all along. You remembered the color, I only said it once. You found it near the back shelf and carried it across. You placed it with the yellow and moved the green aside. The smallest thing I told you had stayed there in your mind. We tried it near the white ones, then held it by the paper. You said the shade looked warmer when the sunlight touched the center. I kept adjusting all the stems, though nothing needed changing. You watched me turn the flower twice, then left it where I placed it. You remember the color, I only said it once. You found it near the back shelf and carried it across. You placed it with the yellow and moved the green aside. The smallest thing I told you had stayed there in your mind. You asked if I still liked it. I said I liked it more, then wrapped the coral flower a little closer to the front. You remembered the color and brought it back to me. It rested near the ribbon where both of us could see. You placed it with the yellow and left the paper wide. The smallest thing I told you had stayed there all this time. One coral flower, right where you knew I'd look. We lifted up the flowers to check the paper underneath. The knot slipped from the center and the ribbon brushed my sleeve. A few stems moved together, one leaned across the green. You caught the paper quickly before it reached the floor. I said I tied it badly, you said it only needed time. Then pulled your chair beside me and placed the ends in mine. The ribbon came loose, so we tied it once again. You held the flowers steady, I crossed the coral ends. The bow was slightly uneven, but neither one complained. We left a little space between and tied it once again. You showed me how to turn it without pulling it too tight. I watched your fingers slowly, then tried it from your side. A crumb fell on the paper, you brushed it toward the plate, then held the knot between us until it stayed in place. The ribbon came loose, so we tied it once again. You held the flowers steady, I crossed the coral ends. The bow was slightly uneven, but neither one complained. We left a little space between and tied it once again. Fixed it faster, but waited for my hands. We worked the ribbon quietly until I understood. The ribbon came loose, then settled where it should. You turned the flowers toward me and said it looked quite good. The bow was still uneven, we kept it just the same. Your hand stayed near the knot when I lifted it away. Two coral ends resting side by side. The flowers were almost finished, the ribbon finally stayed. You looked toward the pastry case, then slowly put the scissors down. I asked if you were hungry, you said maybe just a little. We left the bouquet on the table and walked back to the counter. You pointed at the almond one, I reached for something plain. Then we chose the one between them and carried it away. One more pastry to share before we pack the flowers. One more plate between the cups. One more quiet half an hour. You broke the crust so carefully, then pushed the sweeter side to me. We said we'd leave when we were done, but neither one stood up. You brushed the crumbs together into a line beside the plate. I folded up the extra paper, though there was no need to hurry. You asked what I was doing later. I looked down at the ribbon, then told you I had nothing planned, at least not anymore. One more pastry to share before we pack the flowers. One more plate between the cups. One more quiet half an hour. You broke the crust so carefully, then pushed the sweeter side to me. We said we'd leave when we were done, but neither one stood up. you turned the empty plate around and asked what time I'd come next time. One more pastry to share before we take the flowers. One more promise made so lightly it almost passed us by. You left the last small piece for me. I split it one more time. We said we'd leave when we were done, then ordered one more cup. One empty plate, two chairs still pulled together. I lifted up the flowers to move them from the table. A folded piece of paper was tucked beneath the twine. I thought it was the workshop card or something from the counter, but my name was on the outside, written carefully in blue. You watched me find the corner, then looked down at your cup. I opened it between us while you waited quietly. I know beneath the twine, only 3 short lines. You wrote the time and place and asked if I would come. No careful explanation, no reason written down. Just one small question waiting inside the flowers in my hands. I read it once too quickly and started from the top. You moved the empty plate aside and gave me room to answer. I borrowed back your pencil and wrote beneath your words, then folded up the paper the way you had before. And beneath the twine, only 3 short lines. You wrote the time and place and asked if I would come. No careful explanation, no reason written down. Just one small question waiting inside the flowers in my hands. I slipped it underneath the ribbon with my answer facing in. You asked me if I'd read it. I said you'd have to look. And beneath the twine, now held 4 short lines. Your question and my answer resting side by side. No careful explanation, no reason written down. Just one small plan between us inside the flowers in your hands. You opened up the paper and smiled before you read. We set the 2 bouquets together near the edge of the table. Yours held more of the yellow, mine had branches leaning wide. You looked from one to the other, reached into your own and pulled a small coral flower from the paper by the bow. You held it out between us and said it suited mine. I moved one green stem from my bouquet and placed it into yours. Keep this one, you said it would look better there. I tucked it near the ribbon where the paper opened wide. Keep this one, I gave you something back. Two flowers changed their places and neither one felt out of place. You turned your bouquet slowly to see the green from every side. I moved the coral closer to the yellow in the light. We checked them by the window, then carried them back again. The colors looked less separate than they had before we changed them. Keep this one, you said it would look better there. I tucked it near the ribbon where the paper opened wide. Keep this one, I gave you something back. Two flowers changed their places and neither one felt out of place. You asked if I was certain. I said I'd know it when I looked. Your flower stayed beside my ribbon. Mine rested near your hand. Keep this one, I'll keep the one you chose. A little coral by my paper, a little green inside your bowl. Keep this one until we meet again. Two flowers changed their places and gave us something left to keep. Your flower in my bouquet, mine carried home with you. We gathered all the paper and placed the scissors in the tray. You checked the little workshop card before we put the pencils away. The coral flower in my bouquet was leaning near the green. You touched the ribbon lightly, then asked when I was free. I said I could come next week. You looked toward the flower shelf, then pointed to the yellow stems we had chosen first. Bring the same colors next time, the yellow, green, and coral too. I'll save the table by the counter and leave the other chair for you. Bring the same colors next time, we can make a smaller one. You wrote the day beside my name and circled it when you were done. We carried both bouquets past the bread and coffee cups. You stopped beside the doorway and turned the paper edges up. I asked if we needed anything. You said we'd choose it when we came, then held your flower toward mine to see the colors match again. Bring the same colors workshop card and placed it in my hand. I said I wouldn't lose it. You said you had another plan. Bring the same colors next time, the ones we found together here. I'll bring the paper and the ribbon. You can choose the flowers again. Bring the same colors next time, you said before we reached the door. I held the card inside my pocket and read the date once more. Same table, same colors, 1 week from now. We carried both bouquets past the counter and the bread. You balanced yours against your shoulder. I held mine with both hands. The paper brushed the doorway as you stepped outside ahead, then waited by the flower buckets until I reached the street. You checked the ribbon on my bouquet. I straightened yours in turn. The colors look much brighter out beneath the open sky. Flowers in both our hands, the same colors tied apart. You walked a little slower so I could stay beside you. Flowers in both our hands, and next week written on the card. We didn't say much leaving, there was nothing left to ask. We stopped beside the corner where our roads went different ways. You looked down at the coral flower and said it still looked right. I held up mine beside it, the yellow almost matched. Then you moved 1 step closer to compare them in the light. Flowers in both our hands, the same colors tied apart. You walked a little slower so I could stay beside you. Flowers in both our hands, and next week written on the card. We didn't say much leaving, there was nothing left to ask. You pointed toward the bakery and said same table, same time. I nodded once and held the card a little tighter in my hand. Flowers in both our hands, 1 for you and 1 for me. The ribbons moved together in the warm afternoon breeze. Flowers in both our hands, and another day already planned. You turned towards your street smiling, I carried that with me. Same colors next time, same table by the flowers. I came in 5 minutes early. You were standing by the flowers, trying on a borrowed apron with 2 green pockets in the front. You moved your basket from the chair and said I could sit beside you. We only talked about the colors and where to leave the scissors. You held up something yellow, I pointed to the white. Neither one of us was certain, so we kept a little of both. We took our time at the table, passing paper hand to hand. You smiled when mine came loose. and help me fold it back again. Coffee cooling by the ribbon, flower resting on your sleeve. Nothing special had to happen, we just found no reason to leave. You counted every little stem, I tied the string too tightly. You loosened it without a word, then turned the flowers toward me. Someone brought 2 small pastries, we split the one with lemon. You asked if I came here often, I said this was my first time. We took our time at the table, passing paper hand to hand. You smiled when mine came loose and helped me fold it back again. Coffee cooling by the ribbon, flower resting on your sleeve. Nothing special had to happen, we just found no reason to leave. You placed one flower in my basket and said it looked better that way. We took our time at the table, leaving room between the stems. You wrote your name upon the card, then turned it over with a pen. Coffee finished by the ribbon, evening light across the leaves. Nothing special had to happen, we just found no reason to leave. You handed back the scissors, I kept the flower that you chose. You walked past all the roses and stopped beside the yellow ones, held 2 stems against the window to see them in the morning sun. I picked the pale green branches, you said they needed something warm, so you placed one in my basket like it had belonged there all along. You asked me which looked better, I said the one inside your hand. You looked down for a second, then chose that one again. You chose the yellow ones, I carried all the green. We laid them on the table with the ribbon in between. You moved a little closer to make some extra room, and every time I looked away, I saw you choosing to. The coffee machine kept turning, someone opened up the door. A little wind moved through the paper and scattered leaves across the floor. We picked them up together, you laughed and missed a few, then tucked one in your apron like you always meant to. You chose the yellow ones, I carried all the green. We laid them on the table with the ribbon in between. You moved a little closer to make some extra room, and every time I looked away, I saw you choosing to. the colors worked together, though neither one was planned. Then held the flowers toward me and waited for my hand. You chose the yellow ones, I carried all the green. We tied them with a soft white thread and left the ends uneven. You moved a little closer, sunlight crossed the room, and every time I looked away, I saw you choosing to. One for your basket, one for mine. The paper kept unfolding before I placed the flowers down. You reached across the table and held the corners to the ground. I moved the stems together, you turned the shorter ones around. We talked about the weather while the coffee settled down. You said a little higher, I moved them to the left. Your hand stayed on the paper until I tied the thread. Hold the paper open just a little longer, I'm almost done. Don't move your hands, the ribbon keeps on slipping, but we can start it over. There's nowhere else we have to be. You brushed away the petals that landed near my empty cup, then picked the smallest flower and asked me where it should go. I left a space beside it, you placed another next to mine. The colors look much warmer when we stop trying to decide. Hold the paper open just a little longer, I'm almost done. Don't move your hands, the ribbon keeps on slipping, but we can start it over. There's nowhere else we have to be. The bakery grew quieter, the sunlight crossed the floor. You kept the paper steady, though I had finished minutes before. Hold the paper open just a little longer, the flowers fit right where they are. The ribbon isn't perfect, but neither one will change it. We leave it tied the way we made it. You let the corners go, I carried both bouquets. You came back from the counter with 2 warm rolls upon a plate, set them down beside the flowers and said we still had time to wait. I reached across for one of them and caught the ribbon with my sleeve. A little cloud of flour fell across the table between us. You tried to brush it off, then laughed and made it worse. Why white dust upon the coral thread and crumbs across your shirt. There was flour on the ribbon and sugar on your hand. We forgot about the flowers for a minute where we sat. You tore the bread in two and gave the larger half to me. Nothing looked the way we planned, but nothing needed fixing. The paper stayed unfolded, the stems leaned toward the light. You drew a little circle in the flower with your fingertip. I asked what it was meant to be. You said you hadn't thought that far, then added one small petal and turned it into something new. There was flour on the ribbon and sugar on your hand. We forgot about the flowers for a minute where we sat. You tore the bread in two and gave the larger half to me. Nothing looked the way we planned, but nothing needed fixing. You tied the dusty ribbon around the flowers anyway. I left the mark across the paper and didn't wipe it all away. There was flour on the ribbon and sunlight on the stems. We finished both the pastries and started tying them again. You moved your chair beside me so we could see the same bouquet. Nothing looked the way we planned, but we kept it all that way. A little flower on the ribbon, still there when we were done. We left the flowers on the table and walked over to the case. You pointed at the lemon tart, then looked at me and waited. I said one would be enough. You asked for 2 small forks. We carried it back carefully and set it by the ribbons. You cut it through the middle, then pushed the larger side my way. I turned the plate around and made the pieces look the same. We split the lemon tart between the paper and the stems. You tasted yours too quickly, then reached across again. A little sugar on the table, a little cream upon the plate. We said we should get back to work, but neither one of us could wait. You told me about the bakery near the place where you grew up, how everything was smaller there, but no one ever hurried. I watched you fold the wrapper into a neat and narrow square, then place it by the coffee cups like it belonged beside them. We split the lemon tart between the paper and the stems. You tasted yours too quickly, then reached across again. A little sugar on the table, a little cream upon the plate. We said we should get back to work, but neither one of us could wait. till you broke it with the fork. You gave me half without asking, then reached back for the flowers. We split the lemon tart and left the empty plate behind. You carried all the ribbons, I brought the flowers back in line. A little sugar on the table, a little sunlight on your face. We said we should get back to work, then took a little longer anyway. 2 forks beside the plate, 1 ribbon left untied. One stem leaned across the others. Every time I moved the vase, I tried to turn it toward the window, but it never stayed in place. You reached across without a question, held the flower near the thread, then bent the leaves a little lower and stood it gently with the rest. You said it only needed a little room to find its way, then moved your coffee from the table so the vase could stay. The stem you straightened stayed beside the yellow ones. You turned it toward the sunlight and said that should be enough. I watched your hands move slowly, then rest beside the twine. The flowers looked much better, though you only moved 1 line. You found a smaller branch of green and placed it near the side. I held the paper open while you checked it from behind. Someone called another number at the counter near the door. We both looked up for a moment, then went back to what was ours. The stem you straightened stayed beside the yellow ones. You turned it toward the sunlight and said that should be enough. I watched your hands move slowly, then rest beside the twine. The flowers looked much better, though you only moved 1 line. You left a space between the petals and told me not to fill it in. I almost reached to change it, then let the space remain. The stem you straightened stayed exactly where you placed it. We tied the paper lightly and left the ribbon plain. You lifted up the flowers and handed them to me. The smallest thing you changed was the first thing I could see. 1 stem near the window, still leaning toward your side. cards were stacked beside the ribbon with a pencil in a cup. You wrote your name across the corner, then turned the paper right side up. I had heard it once before when they called us to the table, but seeing every letter there made it easier to remember. You asked me how to spell mine, though it was written on my sleeve, then copied it beneath your name and left a little space between your name on the workshop card, mine written underneath, 2 cups beside the flower stems and crumbs around our sleeves. You circled both our colors, then placed the pencil down. I read the names another time before I turned around. You added one small note about the ribbon we had chosen, then drew a crooked little leaf beside the box marked golden. The paper moved beneath your hand when someone opened up the door. I held the corner steady and you wrote a little more. Your name on the workshop card, mine written underneath, 2 cups beside the flower stems and crumbs around our sleeves. You circled both our colors, then placed the pencil down. I read the names another time before I turned around. You folded up the card and slipped it underneath the twine and said we might need it again if we came back another time. Your name on the workshop card, mine written underneath, a yellow flower pressed between the paper and the string. You circled both our colors and handed it to me. I kept the card inside my bag where it would not bend. 2 names on one small card, 1 flower in between. You held the flowers at a distance and looked at them from side to side. Said the yellow felt too open and the paper looked too wide. I brought a branch from by the window. You turned it once inside your hand, then placed it near the smaller petals like it had always been the plan. You asked for one more piece, I brought back 2 instead. You smiled and kept them both, then moved the ribbon toward the edge. A little more green between the yellow and the white. You said it made the color softer. I said you might be right. A little more room where all the smaller flowers lean. We stopped before it looked too perfect and left a little more green. You trimmed the ends above the basket. I gathered leaves across the table. We compared the different shapes, then chose the ones that felt less careful. The coffee had gone cold beside us, but neither one went back for more. You held the bouquet near the sunlight, then set it down and checked once more. A little more green between the yellow and the white. You said it made the color softer. I said you might be right. A little more green. Tucked one leaf beneath the ribbon, then handed one across to me. I placed it near the folded corner where only both of us could see. A little more green between the paper and the stems. You said it held the colors together, so I left it where it went. A little more room for every flower in between. We tied the thread and kept it simple, with just a little more green. One leaf beneath the ribbon, one still resting by your sleeve. We placed the flowers in the water to see how they would stand. The vase stayed in the middle, with your chair across from mine. You turned the yellow toward me, I moved the green your way. Every time we changed one side, the other looked the same. You leaned around the flowers to ask which one I liked. I moved the vase a little lower so I could see your eyes. The face between us couldn't hide a thing. You smiled above the roses, I smiled beneath the leaves. We kept on moving closer to see the colors through. The vase stayed in the middle, but all I saw was you. A petal touched the water, you lifted it back into place, and turned the glass in small circles until the flowers faced the same way. I passed the folded paper, you reached for it too soon. Our hands met by the ribbon, then stayed there for a moment. The vase between us couldn't hide a thing. You smiled above the roses, I smiled beneath the leaves. We kept on moving closer to see the colors through. The vase stayed in the middle, but all I saw was you. You carried it toward the window, I cleared the cups away and stood beside you quietly to see it in the light. The vase between us caught the afternoon, yellow near the sunlight, green beside the blue. You left it by the window. I stayed beside you there. You came back from the flower shelf with something hidden in your hand, then placed a pale coral stem beside the ribbon where I sat. I asked you why you chose it. You said I mentioned it before, back when we stood beside the window looking through the open door. I didn't know you heard me. I barely said a word. You turned the flower toward me like you had kept it all along. You remember the color, I only said it once. You found it near the back shelf and carried it across. You placed it with the yellow and moved the green aside. The smallest thing I told you had stayed there in your mind. We tried it near the white ones, then held it by the paper. You said the shade looked warmer when the sunlight touched the center. I kept adjusting all the stems, though nothing needed changing. You watched me turn the flower twice, then left it where I placed it. You remember the color, I only said it once. You found it near the back shelf and carried it across. You placed it with the yellow and moved the green aside. The smallest thing I told you had stayed there in your mind. You asked if I still liked it. I said I liked it more, then wrapped the coral flower a little closer to the front. You remember the color and brought it back to me. It rested near the ribbon where both of us could see. You placed it with the yellow and left the paper wide. The smallest thing I told you had stayed there all this time. One coral flower, right where you knew I'd look. We lifted up the flowers to check the paper underneath. The knot slipped from the center and the ribbon brushed my sleeve. A few stems moved together, one leaned across the green. You caught the paper quickly before it reached the floor. I said I tied it badly. You said it only needed time, then pulled your chair beside me and played You showed me how to turn it without pulling it too tight. I watched your fingers slowly, then tried it from your side. A crumb fell on the paper. You pushed it toward the plate, then held the knot between us until it stayed in place. The ribbon came loose, so we tied it once again. You held the flowers steady, I crossed the coral ends. The bow was slightly uneven, but neither one complained. We left a little space between and tied it once again. You could have fixed it faster, but waited for my hands. We worked the ribbon quietly until I understood. The ribbon came loose, then settled where it should. You turned the flowers toward me and said it looked quite good. The bow was still uneven, we kept it just the same. Your hand stayed near the knot when I lifted it away. Two coral ends resting side by side. The flowers were almost finished. The ribbon finally stayed. You looked toward the pastry case, then slowly put the scissors down. I asked if you were hungry. You said maybe just a little. We left the bouquet on the table and walked back to the counter. You pointed at the almond one. I reached for something plain. Then we chose the one between them and carried it away. One more pastry to share before we packed the flowers. One more plate between the cups. One more quiet half an hour. You broke the crust so carefully, then pushed the sweeter side to me. We said we'd leave when we were done, but neither one stood up. You brushed the crumbs together into a line beside the plate. I folded up the extra paper, though there was no need to hurry. You asked what I was doing later. I looked down at the ribbon and told you I had nothing planned, at least not anymore. One more pastry to share before we pack the flowers. One more plate between the cups. One more quiet half an hour. You broke the crust so carefully, then pushed the sweeter side to me. We said we'd leave when we were done, but neither one stood up. The bouquet waited by the window so lightly. It almost passed us by. You left the last small piece for me. I split it one more time. We said we'd leave when we were done, then ordered one more cup, one empty plate, two chairs still pulled together. I lifted up the flowers to move them from the table. A folded piece of paper was tucked beneath the twine. I thought it was the workshop card or something from the counter, but my name was on the outside, written carefully in blue. You watched me find the corner, then looked down at your cup. I opened it between us while you waited quietly. An open beneath the twine, only 3 short lines. You wrote the time and place and asked if I would come. No careful explanation, no reason written down, just one small question waiting inside the flowers in my hands. I read it once too quickly, then started from the top. You moved the empty plate aside and gave me room to answer. I borrowed back your pencil and wrote beneath your words, then folded up the paper the way you had before. Just one small question waiting inside the flowers in my hands. Resting side by side, no careful explanation, no reason written down, just one small plan between us inside the flowers in your hands. You opened up the paper and smiled before you read. We set the 2 bouquets together near the edge of the table. Yours held more of the yellow, mine had branches leaning wide. You looked from one to the other, then reached into your own and pulled a small coral flower from the paper by the bow. You held it out between us You turned your bouquet slowly to see the green from every side. I moved the coral closer to the yellow in the light. We checked them by the window and carried them back again. The colors looked less separate than they had before we changed them. Keep this one, you said it would look better there. I tucked it near the ribbon where the paper opened wide. Keep this one, I gave you something back. Two flowers changed their places, and neither one felt out of place. You asked if I was certain. I said I'd know it when I looked. Your flowers stayed beside my ribbon. Mine rested near your hand. Keep this one, I'll keep the one you chose. A little coral by my paper, a little green inside your bow. Keep this one until we meet again. Two flowers changed their places and gave us something left to keep. Your flower in my bouquet, mine carried home with you. We gathered all the paper and placed the scissors in the tray. You checked the little workshop card before we put the pencils away. The coral flower in my bouquet was leaning near the green. You touched the ribbon lightly, then asked when I was free. I said I could come next week. You looked toward the flower shelf and pointed to the yellow stems we had chosen first. Bring the same colors next time, the yellow, green, and coral too. I'll save the table by the counter and leave the other chair for you. Bring the same colors next time, we can make a smaller one. You wrote the day beside my name and circled it when you were done. We carried both bouquets past the bread and coffee cups. You stopped beside the doorway and turned the paper edges up. I asked if we needed anything. You said we'd choose it when we came, then held your flower toward mine to see the colors match again. Bring the same colors next time, the yellow, green, and coral too. I'll save the table by the counter and leave the other chair for you. Bring the same colors next time, we can make a smaller one. You wrote the day beside my name and circled it when you were done. said you had another plan. Bring the same colors next time, the ones we found together here. I'll bring the paper and the ribbon, you can choose the flowers again. Bring the same colors next time, you said before we reached the door. I held the card inside my pocket and read the day once more. Same table, same colors. 1 week from now. We carried both bouquets past the counter and the bread. You balanced yours against your shoulder, I held mine with both hands. The paper brushed the doorway as you stepped outside ahead, then waited by the flower buckets until I reached the street. You checked the ribbon on my bouquet, I straightened yours in turn. The colors look much brighter out beneath the open sky. Flowers in both our hands, the same colors tied apart. You walked a little slower so I could stay beside you. Flowers in both our hands, and next week written on the card. We didn't say much leaving, there was nothing left to ask. We stopped beside the corner where our roads went different ways. You looked down at the coral flower and said it still looked right. I held up mine beside it, the yellow almost matched. Then you moved one step closer to compare them in the light. Flowers in both our hands, same colors tied apart. You walked a little slower so I could stay beside you. Flowers in both our hands, and next week written on the card. We didn't say much leaving, there was nothing left to ask. You pointed toward the bakery and said, same table, same time. I nodded once and held the card a little tighter in my hand. Flowers in both our hands, one for you and one for me. The ribbons moved together in the warm afternoon breeze. Flowers in both our hands, and another day already planned. You turned towards your street smiling, I carried that with me. Same colors next time, same table by the flowers.